to a different video today. This is going to be my top 50 films that I saw in 2014. My top 50 favourite films that I saw in 2014. This isn't including any film that was released in 2014, but films that I saw for the very first time last year. And for me it was probably the most incredible year for me as a film watcher ever. I mean, it completely just flipped my whole, well, not my whole, but you know, it really changed my perspective on things, you know, and I really became, and as you'll see, became a huge fan of different films than I've ever watched before. So that's been awesome. And I think it was around late 2012, I think it was Mephisto who told me that he was keeping a list of every film he watched, and I thought that's a really good idea. So at the beginning of 2013, I kept a WordPad list of every film I watched in 2013, and that was cool. And then in 2014 I started Letterboxd, so if you want to check out every single film I watched in 2014 with a written review for every single one of them, yes I did, I think 271 reviews last year, written reviews. Some of them quite short, some of them are very, very long, and I probably won't be keeping up with that. I'll try to. I'll probably try and make my reviews more succinct, just a quick paragraph of my thoughts, as opposed to like a 10-paragraph essay, which I can get carried away with, you know. But yeah, check out letterboxd.com/RazorwireRyan. That's, well, I think the link's in the description. If it's not, I'll add it anyway. So yeah, this is going to be the top 50 films I saw in 2014. I'm going to rattle through them in fairly quick order because I don't want this video to be too long. But honourable mentions, The Departed. I finally saw that all the way through and I really loved that film. It was really great. Watched that on the 29th of March with Ryan Chataway when I stayed with him in Florida last year. Pit Stop from 1969, great little kind of unseen gem, I think. I watched that in April. Go West from 1925, a Buster Keaton film. A lot of fun, that one. I watched that on the 21st of May. The Host from 2006, sent to me by Mephisto. Really good, kind of, it's a weird tone film, but it's kind of a monster movie. It's a Korean film, but there's elements of humour and drama in there as well. Very good film. Insomnia from 2002, Christopher Nolan's Insomnia with Al Pacino and Robin Williams, fantastic film. Manor of the Devil, 1896, yes, 1896. I watched that on the 2nd of October, and it's pretty much the first horror film ever. It's only about 2 minutes long. It's directed by George Méliès, who's probably more famous for making A Trip to the Moon in the early 1900s, but it was just great to see, you know, the genesis of the horror film, even though it's more of a campy kind of fun, you know, little piece, but it was just really interesting to see, and to me it really stood out as a film I watched last year. Bride of Chucky from 1998. I loved it. I thought it was a great fun and just a great kind of satire unto itself in many ways. Now on with the list. Number 50, Sanshiro Sugata from 1943. I watched this on the 14th of August, and this is Akira Kurosawa, the legendary Japanese director, his first ever film. I really enjoyed it. There's great flashes of brilliance in it, and you could see where his career would go. And it's a simple story about a man learning judo. Absolutely loved it. It was nowhere near his best work, but it's just really interesting to see, you know, where he started. But you know, it's still a really good film, I think. Number 49, and I have a lot of them here actually. Theatre of Blood, starring Vincent Price. I really enjoyed this one from our video. It was released on Blu-ray last year. I watched this on the 2nd of June. And basically Vincent Price's character, he used to be a stage actor, and people think he's dead, but he's kind of come back, and he's basically killing off all of his critics who didn't give him this award for his performance, and he's killing them off in the style of Shakespeare. Very fun, dark horror comedy with Diana Rigg also, who I remember mostly from, of course, On Her Majesty's Secret Service. Number 48 is Silent Running from 1972. I watched this on the 8th of July, a couple of days after my birthday. Brilliant sci-fi film, really enjoyed this one, starring Bruce Dern, and it's by Douglas Trumbull, who did a lot of the effects for 2001: A Space Odyssey. Really interesting, kind of environmentally themed sci-fi film that was surprisingly moving, given for most of the film we were just with Bruce Dern and a couple of these kind of robotic characters. And Darren Locke said before I'd seen this that it would be best served, or not best served, but would be very much suitable for a double bill with the film Moon, which I totally agree with. Very similar kind of themes in that, and but yeah, generally really great film. Enjoyed it a lot, and I definitely will be watching it again this year. 47, Child's Play from 1988. I watched that on the 2nd of October. Oh, I loved it. I thought it was brilliant. And again, this is probably if Darren's watching this, he might be thinking, Child's Play above Silent Running? Well, I just had so much fun watching Child's Play because I love the 80s-ness of it. And of course, I'm born in the 80s and wasn't really around for the 80s, but I wasn't really cognizant when I was in the 80s, but what was going on around me. But I just love Child's Play. I think it was a really fun film, and it surprisingly works well. The latest sequels are just, they're not great, but I really enjoyed the original. Number 46, another film from the 70s, 1971, and I watched this on the 18th of September, Two Lane Blacktop. This is by Monty Hellman, and this is a really, really interesting film that's very loose in narrative, or plot even, and it's just a really, really, I can't think of the word. I did a whole review on this. I've done reviews of quite a few of these films actually, but there's just a weird feel to it, and I just really felt like I was there on this road trip that these 2 and then 3 characters take, and then 4 actually. I just love the character interaction and the realism to it, but also just the fact of seeing these cool cars just driving around American landscapes. I really enjoyed it. Two Lane Blacktop. Number 45, Sunshine from 2007, Danny Boyle's sci-fi, I wouldn't say epic, but sci-fi grand film. Watched that on the 30th of August, and I really, really liked it. The music was fantastic. The effects were great. I loved the story. Definitely didn't like where it kind of went at the end, which was a real shame. Well, I mean, the actual ending was fine, but there's an element to the ending that was very stereotypical to me and just didn't fit with the rest of the film. But the rest of the film I just loved. I mean, it definitely had flashes of absolute genius in there, but it didn't quite all come together. It's not really a fantastic standout film, but I really, really enjoyed it nonetheless. Number 44, Monty Python and the Holy Grail from 1975. I watched that on the 5th of September as part of my Unseen Classics marathon. Really enjoyed it. Great British comedy, very irreverent, very offbeat, and just all over the place, but in a very good way, and just very, very funny and very British and brilliant. Number 43, Body Bags from 1993. I watched this on the 10th of October. This is John Carpenter and what's his name? Toby Hooper. Might be. Am I right here? I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was him. And they kind of directed 2 segments, or I think John Carpenter did 2 segments. Toby Hooper did a 3rd segment. It's kind of like 3 short, almost like episodes of a TV series in one anthology film, and it's all framed around John Carpenter playing this dead mortician working in a morgue, and he was really funny. He kind of bridged all the gaps between the 3 stories, and he's like, the body bags, these are the real interesting stories, and then we get to see how this person died, and then you have like the 3 shorts, and I really enjoyed it. It was to me it's an absolutely perfect late night film that you can watch at like 2 in the morning, and that's what I did, and I absolutely loved it. Not a great film, but just really enjoyable, and the 1st segment directed by John Carpenter was really, really good actually. Number 42, Cinema Paradiso, 1988. I watched this on the 19th of April, and there'll be quite a few films around this time because that was my 24-hour movie marathon 3. I watched a lot of great films I hadn't seen before during that marathon. Cinema Paradiso, Italian film about a boy who grows up and a friendship that he kind of sparks up with a guy who works as a projectionist in the local cinema in this very small Italian village, and then you see him growing up and the relationship change and evolve, and it's basically a love letter to cinema from, I'm guessing, the director, but also the main character in the film has a love for films, and the ending is probably one of the best kind of just sequences I think and ideas I've seen in a film, and it was just a wonderful ending and a great film. 41, Dr. Medusa, The Gambler from 1922. I watched this on the 30th of June. This is a Fritz Lang film, an early Fritz Lang film, and of course it's silent, and you're going to be seeing many silent films on this video, on this list even. This is a almost 5-hour epic. It's a 2-part film, and it's about the titular character, Dr. Medusa, who he kind of is a master of disguise and crime in Berlin, and you just see this epic tale unfold of this police inspector trying to catch Dr. Medusa, and it's brilliant. And you might not think it sounds like a simple crime film, but there is a lot of kind of interesting special effects, and it just looks great, and it's just, I don't know, it took me on a ride, and definitely slow moving. You really need to have patience for it, but paid off in the end. I really, really loved it. Number 40, When Harry Left Hogwarts from 2012. This is a documentary that came out around the time that I think the last Harry Potter film came out on Blu-ray, and it was released with the package, I think. A documentary about 45 minutes long, but this is the extended version from the Wizards Collection set, which I'll be talking about in depth on a future Harry Potter Odyssey video, so I won't say much about that, but I really, really love this. The extended version shows you kind of almost a bit of a darker, more sober side of filmmaking. Something kind of really bad happened during the making of the Deathly Hallows, which they didn't really touch on in the original documentary material, and this is kind of made by someone who was given access on set during the making of the last two films, so very interesting. But yeah, one of my new favorite behind the scenes film documentaries, and I watched that on Christmas Eve. Number 39, a film from 1983 that I watched on the 14th of May. Koyaanisqatsi. Yeah, Koyaanisqatsi, film by I forget his name. See, you watch so many films and you forget these directors' names. Godfrey Reggio, is that right? Yeah, Godfrey Reggio, but also, very much importantly, music by Philip Glass. And this is a film where the director and the composer very much go hand in hand, because this is a film. This is the sequel, Powerkatsi, which wasn't as good to me, but it was still very, very good. But this one was, for me, an amazing film, Koyaanisqatsi. It's basically about anything you want, really. You look at it and you can just glean so much from the powerful music and the powerful imagery. There's no words. It's just shots of nature, of life, of people, of cities, of so many different things set to this incredible music that is so evocative. And I can't even go into it more. I've done a full massive review on it, so you can check that out if you want, but for me it was an incredible watch. Number 38 from 1930, a silent film called City Girl. I watched this on the 6th of September. This is by F.W. Murnau, and this was his final silent film, I believe. I'm not sure about Taboo, if that's silent or not, but either way, this is one of his American films. F.W. Murnau was a German director. He went over to Hollywood and made some American films, one of which is also in this list. And this is a really, really good film. It was almost perfect to me. The ending was a bit too neat for me, and it didn't have enough time to kind of feel like it paid off. But the rest of it I really, really enjoyed. There's such a great charm to this film, and I just loved it from start to finish, and won't go into too much depth on the plot of some of these films. Number 37, Insidious from 2010. Great horror film. I was really surprised. I was expecting something like I don't know, Paranormal Activity, which, you know, I did enjoy but didn't think it was great, but this was a great horror film. They did go with they always show too much, I think, these horror films, of the modern horror films, without it kind of being satisfying to me. It's always showing too much and then it's like digital or something. But for the most part, I thought it was fantastic. And we watched it on the 31st of October, Halloween night. Perfect Halloween movie to me. And it also kind of went against conventions. You know, basically this couple move into a house, weird stuff starts happening, and then they just say, okay, we're moving. You know, it's like, wow, that was brilliant. Like, why doesn't anyone, like Poltergeist, wouldn't people just move out of the house they're having problems with? And I love that little kind of turning the convention on its head a little bit. But, you know, I thought it was a really good film. 36, Safety Last from 1923, Harold Lloyd, kind of the lesser known of the three big kind of silent comedy stars of the 20s, you know, with Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton, and Harold Lloyd, who did incredible work in Safety Last. Watched this on the 21st of July, and it was just a brilliant comedy film about this guy who kind of pushed himself into a corner where he kind of is lying to his girlfriend about how good the job he has is, and he has to kind of basically climb up this building to prove his worth in a way, and it has that famous shot of the guy holding onto the big hand of a clock as it's kind of dangling over the edge of a building, and he's kind of dangling there, and he's climbing up a building, and he's almost falling off and doing all these stunts, and really, really just visually spectacular film. Really funny though, and yeah, I really enjoyed that one. Number 35, another silent film, Steamboat Bill Jr. from 1928. Watched this on the 20th of April in my 24-hour movie marathon this year, or last year, sorry. And this is Buster Keaton film, and he basically moves back to stay with his dad, who works on a boat, and his dad is kind of, you know, disappointed in Buster Keaton in a way, and there's just some incredible stunts in this film. It's a very simple story, but the last half of the film was just this huge, ridiculous sequence where there's a storm, and it's the famous shot where Buster Keaton is standing in front of a house, and the front of the house falls down, and it just so happens that he's standing where the window is, and there isn't any glass in there, and it just lands, you know, where he's standing, and it's a real you know, side of a house that could have killed him. And just one of the many death-defying stunts that Buster Keaton did in his career, and just a great little film. Number 34, Zodiac from 2007, David Fincher crime film. Oh, I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. It was gripping from the get-go, and just till the very end, I was hooked. Great cast as well, Robert Downey Jr., Jake Gyllenhaal, who I've become a really big fan over the past couple of years. I watched that on the 21st of June. 33, Strangers on a Train, 1951, great Alfred Hitchcock film. I watched that on the 6th of December. Really loved the play between characters in this and the psychology of it. Two people meet on a train, and one of them is clearly psychotic and kind of basically suggests to the other guy that they both swap murders. They both want someone to not be in their life anymore, and so he has this crazy idea that, well, we'll just kill the person that the other person doesn't want around anymore, and we'll have the perfect alibi. And it just gets complicated, and it just keeps, you know, just spinning from there. And I really thought it was a fantastic film. Number 32, My Neighbor Totoro, 1988. This is a Hayao Miyazaki film, a Japanese animation director. In this film, I watched on the 20th of December with my cousin Ben, if you're watching, and I really enjoyed this. It's almost a... I always get into this kind of trap where I say, oh, it's almost a perfect, or it's a perfect this, or a perfect that. It's not perfect, but it is such a good portrait of childhood to me. There's these two young girls, they move into the country with their father, and their mother's ill in hospital, and it's in the 50s, and, you know, where that's a bit more serious maybe, and they kind of... to me, it's about childhood imagination and warmth, and basically they find this creature, and many creatures in the woods next to their house, called Totoro, and you know, he's basically the mascot for Studio Ghibli. He's at the front of every one of their films, and you know, a lot of people love this film. But yeah, to me, I just was just taken with it. I thought it was really just a really enjoyable, warm, fun film to watch, and as far as those films go, to me, it's one of the very best. 31, Sherlock Jr., another Buster Keaton film from 1924. Watched this on the 19th of April on my 24-hour movie marathon 3. And another great Buster Keaton film. Only about 50 minutes long, this one, but it has a fantastic sequence. He basically plays a projectionist who dreams of becoming a detective. And there's a fantastic sequence where he falls asleep, and then he comes out of himself as a ghost, jumps into the screen where the audience are watching a film, and then suddenly the screen's cutting, and one of the most brilliant scenes I've seen in a film, and it was, you know, done almost 100 years ago, and it just looks brilliant, and it blew my mind that you could do that back then in the 20s, and this was when I was starting to become kind of blown away by what you could do in a silent film, and this was one of the films that really kicked me into watching more silent films. Number 30, It's a Mad, 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 Mad World from 1963. Watched this the same day as Sherlock Jr. on the 19th of April. Brilliant, just caper film. You know, you have all these people, what is it, there's a guy dies at the beginning of the film out in the kind of desert in California, and he tells a few of these people who've stopped to see him on the road that he says that there's this pile of gold, or there's a lot of this money buried at a certain spot under a big W. And so you got these kind of people who are driving around doing whatever they need to do to go wherever they need to go, and suddenly they find out about, look, this huge amount of money, and so they all want to go and get it. And then other people hear about it along the way as they're on this road trip through California to get to this big W, and then it's just suddenly everyone, there's so many people trying to get this money, and there's just calamity everywhere, big set pieces. The version I watched was over 3 hours long, and oh, such a fun film, and just pure cinema to me. I absolutely loved it. Great cast as well. A lot of people who I didn't know but really enjoyed the performances of. I'm sure people who know more stars from the 50s, 60s would know a lot of them, but you know, Mickey Rooney, I know Mickey Rooney of course, and people like that, but brilliant film. Number 29, Annie Hall, 1977. I watched this on the 6th of September. I love this. This was the perfect kind of romantic comedy drama to me. Woody Allen and Diane Keaton had such great chemistry. I think they were together at a point in time as well, so that kind of explains things. But oh, that brilliant film, so well written, so well performed. Just go watch it. It's brilliant. Number 28, The Kid from 1921. 23rd of July is when I watched this. This is a Charlie Chaplin film that for me was almost perfect. I hate to say it again, but it was almost perfect. For me, there was a dream sequence in it that just didn't seem to fit, and I didn't really like that much. But the rest of it was just Oh, Charlie Chaplin plays this, well, he always plays the same kind of character, the kind of tramp character. This is still the only Charlie Chaplin film I've watched. I was planning on watching a lot more, but I didn't. But he plays a character who finds this baby and reluctantly takes it in, and then 5 years later, you know, it's the kid, he's like 5 years old, and the little actor who played him was just brilliant, and the way they played off each other, and the emotion of the story as well, because his mother really didn't want to give him away, but kind of circumstances, you know, happened, and a really, really warm, but funny and brilliant little film. Number 27, Lupin the Third, The Castle of Cagliostro from 1979, the 30th of December is when I watched this, only like last week, about a week ago. This is Hayao Miyazaki's first film, and I'll be doing a dedicated review to this very soon, so I'll just leave it at that, but I really love this film. 26, Big Trouble in Little China from 1986. I watched this on the 1st of June. My dad used to watch this a lot, and I remember growing up, my cousin Jamie would come over and he'd watch it, and I always would look away at the villain in this film, and you know, but I just never really got around to seeing it. I always wanted to, but then the Blu-ray came out from our video, so I thought it was a perfect opportunity to check it out finally, and I did. And Big Trouble in Little China to me is such a fun film. Kurt Russell. What I love about this, John Carpenter of course directed this. I love that the hero of the film, you know, was it Jack Burton? Is that, yeah, Jack Burton, played by Kurt Russell. He's painted as, literally painted as the hero of the film, but really the hero is the you know, the Asian guy who's kind of the, not really the main character, but the guy who kind of takes care of business in the film. Jack Burton's useless, you know, and he's this typical brash American who thinks he is it, but he isn't. And that is what is so brilliant about this film. But apart from that, it's just so much fun. The fantasy, martial arts aspect. It's a great kind of mishmash of genres and just a brilliant entertainment-filled ride. I loved it. Number 25, For All Mankind, 1989. Watched this on the 27th of August. It is For All Mankind, a documentary by Al Reinert, who took all the NASA kind of footage from the moon landings, all the Apollo missions, and made, for me, the definitive film about, you know, manned space exploration, you know, as it first happened, you know, what the you know, the moon exploration, and you know, with Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong, and also the other times that people went to the moon, and just a comprehensive look that's only about, I think, an hour and a half, no, hour and 20 minutes, but it's really great. It's only told with the archive footage. There's no narration, there's no kind of framing or what's the word, contemporary interviews. It's all kind of audio interviews of astronauts from the NASA archives. It's just, anyone who says that the moon landings are fake, watch this film and then tell me again, because I mean, there's no way. It's a brilliant film. I loved it. 24, Double Indemnity from 1944. Watched this on the 7th of September. Filmed by Billy Wilder. Great film noir from the 40s. Yeah, 1944. Set in Hollywood, and I loved this film. It's just dripping with film noir, and I love that. Love it for that, because I love that style of filmmaking and that old kind of Hollywood feel to films, and also much more, but it is a brilliant film noir, and love the story in that one. Now we have number 23, Poltergeist, 1982. I had never seen this all the way through. Watched this on the 28th of October. Kind of the highlight for the horror viewings of the month, I think, for me, or one of the highlights anyway. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was brilliant. Just such a good film. Endlessly entertaining. Had a little bit of a problem with the ending of the film, but overall just brilliantly done, and pretty much a Steven Spielberg film. Number 22, Dazed and Confused from 1994. 4th of September I watched this. Blew me away. Richard Linklater's second film. Just about the last day of high school, and you just see, you know, the kids leaving school and then hanging out afterwards, and then the party, and it's just a real good look at kind of what it was like to be a teenager. I guess I could relate to a lot of it. A lot of it I couldn't, because it was a kind of Americana as well. I think it's set in the 80s or the 70s. I can't remember now. I'm pretty sure, yeah, it was 70s. Yeah, they had the Pink Floyd poster and everything. And but either way, I still found a lot of relatability to it, and it was so simple but so well written, so well performed, and just I loved it. Brilliant. Number 21, Citizen Kane, 1941. I watched this on the 20th of April. For me, one of the best films ever made. It lives up to the hype. Just it's so well directed, so well made. Orson Welles, you know, he was, I mean, how old was he when he made that? In his like early 20s, or 25, 26. Incredible that he wrote and directed that. And I almost didn't believe that he played the old version of Charles Foster Kane in the film, because very smartly, when we first see him, it's in kind of newsreel footage which has kind of been damaged, and you can't quite see, you know, whereas you can later on in the film, the joins, not the joins, but like you can see the makeup on them later on in the film, because this film spans many years and a lot of the actors portray older versions of their characters. But at the beginning I was so just convinced that that was an old man playing Charles Foster Kane, and that's probably one of the best compliments an actor could receive, I would imagine. But amazing performances, Kane, amazing direction, amazing writing, just a tour de force of creative genius in my opinion. Not really seen anything else from Orson Welles, to be honest, but for me the direction at the time again was really great, and yeah, I genuinely think that's probably one of the best films ever made. Again, this is my favourite, it's not, you know, what I would consider the best. And again, the next film, this I would also consider to be in the top 10 films ever made, probably, if I really thought about it. And I think I've done a list actually, and it is in the top 10, but for me, this introduced me in full to silent films. It was the first silent film I watched in its entirety, and I'm so glad I did. Number 20 it is, to start off the top 20. From 1927, I watched it on the 4th of February, Metropolis, from Fritz Lang, the German director, who for my money is one of the best directors of all time. We saw one of his films earlier, Dr. Medusa the Gambler. This is him at his height, I think, just an absolute, well, maybe not, I mean, he's made so many masterpieces, but this one for me is such an important film, such a brilliant film, and it is a famous film as well, and iconic, and just go watch it. I mean, if you haven't seen silent films before, this is a great way to start. It is quite long, about 2.5 hours, the restored version, which you should definitely see, and it looks amazing on Blu-ray as well. A great film about so many different things, and basically this all takes place in the metropolis of this huge futuristic city, and the visuals, the themes, the emotion, the music. It's got the original score that was you know, recorded at the time by let me get his name right here, Gottfried Huppertz, who the score is just, oh, the score's amazing. It drives the film, and it's just a brilliant, brilliant film at that. Number 19, 7 Up from 1964. I watched this on the 3rd of May. This is also including the kind of the series of films, the series of documentary films that started in 1964 by the BBC, and I think they kind of switched over at one point, but now it's back with the BBC, I think, I'm not sure. But it started off in the BBC. It was a concept documentary to look at a group of, oh, how old is it? I think 7-year-olds. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was 7-year-olds. Yeah, 7-year-olds. Of course, 7 Up, what am I thinking? A group of 7-year-olds from around the UK in the early 60s, 1964, from middle class, you know, lower class and so on, from around the country, and to just interview them and just talk about their life, what they do, how they work, how their minds work, what they're thinking. And then 7 years later they made 14 Up, and we see them as young teenagers. 7 years later they made 21 Up, we see them as young adults. Then we see them as adults, as in 28 Up, and then of course we see them, you know, approaching middle age in 35 Up, and then in 42 Up we see them in middle age, and then 49 Up we see them, you know, getting older, and it's just an incredible piece of work. And it was the guy who's directed almost all of them worked on the first film, then he directed the second one, and he's directed them all since, and now he's, you know, in his 70s, and you know, some of them dropped out and then came back, and you know, certain things, some of them are in every film. Me and Connie watched all of them in about a month or so. Definitely don't recommend watching them all in one go, because every 7 years, you know, you got to think at the time. I don't want to go too in depth with this, but at the time, you know, obviously after so and so years, 41 years or whatever, 14 years. What am I thinking? No, after every 7 years. Oh god, I'm getting mixed up now because I just saw that the battery is on 3 minutes, so I've got to be quick now, finish this up and then put the camera charger in. But yeah, every 7 years, you know, they recap stuff. So, you know, 14 Up is filled with clips from 7 Up and vice versa, and so, you know, they get long as well. Some of them were like, you know, an hour long, then like 3 hours long, and there's a lot of going back to stuff. But for me, an incredible piece of work, and I'm just counting it all as one piece, really. Just absolutely brilliant. I'm going to get the camera charger and continue on with the list. Okay, we're back in the game. It is 18, The Men Who Tread on the Tiger's Tail from 1945. I watched this on the 20th of August. This is one of Akira Kurosawa's early films, and it's about an hour long, and I feel like if it was like 2 hours longer, it would probably be one of his best films. A group of kind of traveling samurai disguised as monks that are transporting this important person across a border without being detected through this forest and in the mountains, and it just looks incredible. It was all done on set, and I really for a while was convinced it was done on location, so a great job there. But it played out like a stage play and was so enjoyable, and you definitely see this again, this elements of Seven Samurai in there for me. But I actually loved it and thought I really enjoyed it more than I thought I would. Excuse me, suppressing burps there to the person who keeps calling me out on that. 17, Raiders of the Lost Ark, 1981. Yep, I'd never seen Indiana Jones before, much to many people's dismay, mystification and shock. But I now have, and I've seen all of them now. So I always had them on VHS as a kid, but it was all Star Wars for me. I couldn't go away. Star Wars. Great characterization by Harrison Ford. I mean, Harrison Ford and Indiana Jones, it's a match made in heaven, perfect for the role. So well done, the script, the direction, it's so imaginative, so adventurous. It is a almost perfect event. I always say almost perfect. It is a perfect adventure. It's a great adventure film. You got globetrotting, and it's just fantastic. Great entertainment. Number 16 from 1960. It is Psycho, which I watched on the 2nd of November. Got this Blu-ray from Ryan Chatway, sent it to me as a gift. Thanks again, Ryan. Brilliant film. Again, another film that lives up to the hype, that kind of precedes it at times. A fantastic film from Alfred Hitchcock. Great kind of thriller. I don't know if you call it horror, but for me, it's just great because you always know about the famous shower scene, but there's so much more to it than that, and loved every second of that. I don't know if I said that I watched Raiders of the Lost Ark on the 28th of September. Either way, you know now, if not once, then twice. Number 15, Faust from 1926. On the 22nd of July was when I watched this one. This is, I think, maybe the last German film by F.W. Murnau. Epic film. So epic. Basically about an angel and a demon making a bet that the demon can corrupt the heart of a mortal man, and the angel bets that he can't, and so basically he convinces this guy, this demon, Mephisto, he convinces this man to sell his soul to the devil in a way to get all that he wants, at the risk again of sacrificing his soul. Brilliant film. The special effects are unbelievable. The imagery is just, oh, I mean, I read this thing where Disney, the Disney animators love this film, and you can really see kind of Disney-esque imagery, and definitely on the was it Night of Bald Mountain or something like the sequence at the end of Fantasia, gotta be influenced by the scene in this film where the demon is towering over the village and spreading this plague. Oh, incredible film. Loved it so much. Can't wait to watch it on Blu-ray. I got that for Christmas. Number 14, Slacker, another film from Richard Linklater from 1991. I watched it on the 30th of August. Excellent film, which starts with the director himself in a taxi just having a conversation, or one-sided conversation with this guy. He gets out the taxi and he sees this incident happen, and then he walks away, and we stay with the incident, and this is how the film goes. It's a day in I think Austin, Texas, and you see some characters, they interact, they talk, we get to spend time with them, they meet someone else, they leave, we stay with that someone else, and then the story, well, not the story, but just the camera follows this other person, and it's just a really interesting concept, and I think mostly non-actors were used as well. So again, great film. It just blew me away by how simple it was, but how special it was at the same time. Number 13, Ugetsu Monogatari from Mizuguchi, Kenji Mizuguchi. Fantastic film. Absolutely loved it. Watched it on the 5th of September. I think this was my Unseen Classics marathon again, and a great film that was at times moving, at times really chilling. There was a great atmosphere in this film. I won't go into the details, but a really interesting film. I just, there was something about it that just kept me kind of rapturously interested the whole time. I was just like, what's going to happen next? How is this going to end up? I was just on the edge of my seat without actually being on the edge of my seat, and an absolutely fantastic, 10 out of 10 film. Number 12, it is another Hayao Miyazaki film, Castle in the Sky from 1986. Watched it on the 17th of December. And again, I will be covering this in my Hayao Miyazaki series, so I'm not going to say too much about this other than I loved it, and it's, for me, one of the best pure adventure films I've ever seen, you know, bar none, you know, including live action. Number 11, another Hayao Miyazaki film, Ponyo from 2008. This film really surprised me, blew me away. I wasn't expecting to see what I saw, or to feel what I felt, I should say. I watched this is the last film I watched of the year on the 31st of December, and what a film to go out on, because for me, it was just such a joy, and I was smiling throughout and had such a great feeling at the end. And again, I'll be covering this in my Miyazaki series. Now we're cracking the top 10. Number 10, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade from 1989, 4th of October. Brilliant film. I mean, I loved it from start to finish. You've got Sean Connery in this one as Indiana Jones' dad. But just great kind of, again, the globe-trotting feel. Temple of Doom I really liked, but it was just all set in one place, and this one was opening up the floodgates again to go in different places, and the story is great, and the opening is great with River Phoenix playing young Indiana Jones, and how it all ties together, and the ending is just brilliant, and I really, really loved it. Number 9, this is a very interesting film from 1924. I watched it on the 1st of August, and it is The Nibelungen, which is another 2-part epic from Fritz Lang, and the glare on the case is reflecting off something. I thought something was flashing over on the other side of the room. Another epic from Fritz Lang. It is 282 minutes long, so it's about 4.5 hours. 4.5? No, 4 hours and almost 45 minutes, so it's almost a 5-hour film. I watched this all in one day, and it was such one of my favourite films of last year. Obviously, it's on this list, very high on this list, but to me it was like Lord of the Rings meets a little bit of Star Wars in the mythology of it, and then also Game of Thrones, very Game of Thrones like, and the plotting and the deception, and that kind of, you know, the medieval, not medieval, but the, I'm terrible with this, but, you know, what's the word? Old-timey setting, you know, it's old swords and castles and, you know, all this kind of thing, and I just, so much about it I loved. There's a great scene where the hero in the first film, Siegfried, that's the name of the first film, he fights this huge, like, 60-foot dragon. It's a real dragon. I mean, the sets are incredible, and for me, I marvelled at how this film was made in 1924. People look to Metropolis as like, wow, I can't believe they did that in 1927. Look at this film in 1924. This is like the Lord of the Rings. You know, before even Lord of the Rings existed to me. You know, I gotta imagine that some part of Tolkien was either inspired by this film or inspired by what this film was kind of loosely adapting. There's this whole big thing. It's based on the Ring cycle, Wagner's Ring cycle. Not an adaptation, but it's, you know, it's served as a basis, it says on the back cover, but incredible. And the second film, Kriemhild's Revenge, is not as an eventful film as the first one, but watching it all in one go as one film to me was an amazing experience, and at the end of it I was just like, this is one of the best films I've ever seen. I loved it, absolutely loved it. Again, not for the weak at heart or not for the impatient, but worth the patience, well, it wasn't even patience, I just loved it. You know, for me, it was like, oh, this is really long, but it was just so enjoyable, even at the slow moments, and I loved the acting, and brilliant. Number 8, Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind from 1984. This is another of Hayao Miyazaki's films. From the 10th of December was the day I watched it. And again, we'll be covering this in my Miyazaki series, but suffice it to say, an epic with a great message, a great story, a great heart, and one that really blew me away. I was not expecting this from a Miyazaki film, or from an animated film. I really wasn't, you know. I'm a big fan of Porco Rosso, one of Miyazaki's films. It's one of in my top 20 favourite films of all time. But this is the next one I saw from Miyazaki, and this is what got me watching all of his other films and putting them on this list, but still a few more I haven't watched yet, but absolutely loved it. Number 7, Our Hospitality from 1923. Buster Keaton film. I watched it on the 16th of July. Absolutely loved it. It was a great story, so well told, you know, but again, with the medium of silent films, but really funny too, and a breathtaking sequence towards the end that just keeps building and building, and these great stunts, and literally death-defying stunts. He almost died making this film. One of the stunts went wrong. He got kind of caught up in a river, I think, or something like that, and banged his head. I can't remember the details, but again, incredible. Number 6, The Deer Hunter from 1978. Watch this on the 9th of September. The scene for me, the scene with Rob De Niro. I've just realised I always say for me. Well, I guess it's an applicable point, you know, because I'm saying that out of my perspective, or whatever. For me, Rob De Niro and Christopher Walken's performance in the Russian roulette scene, the famous, infamous Russian roulette scene, some of the best I've ever seen. I felt that to the point where it was one of the most convincing things I've ever seen in a film, and was just like, I mean, you know, you watch a film and you're like, you know, you're drifting and you like realise you're sat here watching a film. I was just like in that screen, in that moment, just absolutely. You get rare moments where you're that into a film, and for me that was one of them. But the whole film itself is such an epic that it took me a few times. I mean, I tried to watch it over the years and I got bored by the opening, but I stuck through it this time and I still found it slow, but by the end of it I appreciate it so much more, and I know the next time I watch it I'll be able to enjoy it even more, which I don't know how I could enjoy it even more, but you know. Well, again, I'd like to say that I enjoyed a film like this. It's very depressing and dark at times, but it's such a great story and a great journey to see unfold, and a shocking one, and you know, to be moved like that and to be affected like that by a film, to me is always a mark of something really special. Number 5, we're in the top 5 now, the elite best of the best, M from 1931. I watched this on the 7th of August, and it is another Fritz Lang film. This is an incredible film that is by a child killer, played by the amazing Peter Lorre. And this is really, really something special. Just a fantastic film. It's so well done, and it's like it's Fritz Lang's first sound film, and you just see where he was not just saying, okay, I'm going to make a film that has people speaking it now. He's like, I'm going to use sound. I'm going to use silence within the sound. And the direction again is incredible. Fritz Lang, absolute genius. This, I don't know whether this or Metropolis is the better film, but for me this is one of the best films ever made for sure. The next one I wouldn't say that, but I did enjoy it so much. Number 4 from 1968. I watched it on the 18th of April. Planet of the Apes, the original. Loved this so much more than I thought I would, and I've since watched the whole series. I'm now a huge Planet of the Apes fan. What can I say about this? An absolute masterpiece in my opinion. It's so good. Again, the ideas, they feel simple, but they just kind of, you can, just the commentary of the difference between the humans and the apes, and I won't go into the story, but you know, great ending as well, of course, but absolutely love this from start to finish. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And now we are going into the 20s, and we are staying there for the top 3. Number 3 from 1929, watch it on the 16th of July, Frau im Mond, The Woman in the Moon. Another Fritz Lang film. Is my favourite Fritz Lang film. I don't think it's his best at all, but brilliant. My nan got me this for Christmas, by the way. Thanks, Nan. And not that she's watching this, but I was so happy when I wrapped this on Christmas Day. I was like, oh, this is one of my favourite films. And it's about a trip to the moon. It's about, you know, and this is long before it was ever a possibility, and they got so many things right. Fritz Lang spoke with a guy who was kind of theorising on this stuff. And again, like the rocket going up and then splitting off, you know, after it leaves the orbit of the Earth and start the atmosphere of the Earth, and zero gravity is portrayed. I mean, some of it is really spot on, and the first half is very slow. I'll give it that. But for me, I was watching, I was like, oh, this is slow. But when they kind of say, okay, this is who's going to be on the mission, I was like, oh yeah, I really like him, and I was like, oh yeah, because he was cool in that scene earlier on, and I was like, wow, that really worked. I got invested in the characters to the point where this isn't just like, okay, there's a bunch of people putting on a rocket and we're going to send them up there and do some cool special effects. No, you're going to care about the characters first, and then we're going to do it. And that for me was what really sold the film. And I'm a huge space nerd anyway. Really appealed to me. The music's great. I just love the feel of this film. Love the special effects, the sets. You know, Fritz Lang. His films are amazing. Literally become at a loss for words sometimes, but for me, this is just brilliant, and it's definitely in my top 20 films of all time. As is this one, and the next one. So again, I found a lot of new favourite films of all time in 2014, which has been great. Number 2 from 1926, I watched it on the 15th of July. I can't think of a film where I've probably been moved as much, and it isn't one of those films that is you know, emotionally heart-wrenching or heartbreaking, but something about it just got me. Sunrise, A Song of Two Humans, masterpiece. F.W. Murnau, his first American film. There's some great special effects in this when it's only really a kind of romantic story about a man and his wife who, there's complications, let's say that, I won't say any more, and they kind of rekindle their love for each other, or at least, you know, maybe more on his part, I think. And it's just almost a celebration of love, but also a kind of cautionary tale at the same time. And amazing, absolutely amazing. Just love that film so much. And the number one film, my favourite film of 2014 that I watched for the first time, and it's from 1926. I watched it on the 29th of May. No way. Hang on. Oh, okay. There was still a little bit of cellophane left on the actual Blu-ray case. I thought the actual cellophane, not cellophane, the plastic wrap over the cover had ripped or something. Okay, right. Oh, you've seen it. It is 1926, The General, Buster Keaton. Yes, this is in my top 10 favourite films of all time. This is one of the best films I've ever seen. You know, it doesn't have the emotional impact of Sunrise, it doesn't have the huge special effects of Frau Mond, it doesn't have the commentary of Planet of the Apes, it doesn't have the sheer brilliance of, you know, plot and, you know, structure of M, but it has, for me, just a pure expression of love of trains. And I'm a huge, as a kid, I loved steam engines, and, you know, Thomas the Tank Engine was my favourite thing in the world when I was a kid, but I also loved real trains, not just the ones with faces on them. And this, you see all these old steam trains, and Buster Keaton it's a big chase film, really. It's so much fun, and he does all his own stunts, and he's literally, like, you know, riding on the front of trains as they go down tracks, and he's like throwing things around and jumping around, and the end you actually see a real train crash through this burning bridge over a river, and it's done for real with a real train, the most expensive shot in silent cinema history. There's just something about it to me that it's just like, I love everything about it. I love everything about it. It looks great, sounds great, with the great score that's been provided for on the Blu-ray. And Buster Keaton, just at his absolute best here. You know, I just love his style. I love his film. I love the fact that he directed this, starred in it, did all his own stunts, and it's just epic. The scope of it at times is brilliant, and the Civil War is brought into it, but at its heart, it's really just a kind of a fun film, really. But it has more to it. But for me, you know, I say that so much, but The General, my favourite film that I watched in 2014. There we go. So thank you for watching. I'm exhausted now. I really was thinking in my head I was going to do it quite quickly, but I guess I didn't do that. But there you go. All the same, thank you for watching, and I'll try to put any links to reviews I've done of these previously in the description below. If I haven't, then bug me, comment me, and leave a comment for me, and tell me that I need to sort it out, because sometimes I say I'll put a link in the description, I forget about it. But, like, for example, The General, I did like a 20-minute skit and review of the Blu-ray and the film itself in depth if you want to see that. I reviewed Sunrise and Frau Mond in my silent movie marathon. I'll leave a link to that as well. I'll leave the links to anything I've reviewed that I've mentioned in this video, hopefully. So there you go. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you with the next one. And it's been a long one, but I hope you enjoyed. See ya.
Really nice guy, he looks after his friends, he only chucks them about the place a couple of times on the weekend. Yeah, he's alright by me, apart from the fact he throws cans of Carlin into a tree. Yeah, he's really cool.